Hi, you guys. I'm Leilani.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. I'm Leilani, and this is Heather and Wendy. You guys can,
Hi.
yeah. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Sorry.
Oh my God. I'm Heather. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, I'm Wendy.
Hi.
I'm doing fine.
Sorry. I just assumed that people knew who you guys were, but they might just be tuning in for the first time to watch this. So, um, anyway, we decided to get together and talk about. There's a video of Stephen Greer that was posted on the Intergalactic Connections group, Facebook group, and then another one of Magenta Pixie. And both of those were important videos. Stephen Greer was talking about fake alien invasions. I think that was kind of the title of it. And then I should have gotten the titles, and then Magenta Pixie. Do you guys remember what the title was? Either of you?
Truth Seekers,
Truth Seekers, yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So we wanted to talk about it, or I did, because I thought it was significant to what was going on. And we've created the three of us have created a few videos on just letting go of things, because it's become more apparent to me that that is the theme of what's going on right now. And it's been happening for at least the last couple of weeks. But it must be a phase or a stage that we're going through as part of our ascension process, to just let go of things that no longer serve us, let go of things that don't matter anymore, let go of things that have taught us a lesson. Hopefully we've learned from them, and release it. Don't hold on to it, because when you're ascending into a higher vibration, you're not going to be able to have those things cling to you. They're going to just fall off. Those heavy emotions of grief, sadness, guilt, fear, all those different emotions that are opposite of love, they're not going to be able to stick to you. I've noticed a huge difference in the last 2 years, through my growth process, where I'm no longer affected by those things. It's almost as if I'm on the outside looking at the big picture, and I can see from a different perspective of what it's like. And so things become very easy for me, much easier than they used to be, because I was so caught in those lower vibration emotions and energy. And now I look at it through a different lens, a different perspective on things, and whatever is happening around me doesn't affect me as much. It just like water off a duck's back, basically, is what we say. And it's true. But as you grow, and that's part of the ascension process, you're growing, you're evolving, you're changing. Those feelings, those emotions aren't going to affect you. They're not going to stick to you. Sure, you're going to feel them, but it's going to be so brief that it's not going to cause you more grief or more sadness or more anger, or more sorrow, sadness, depression. Those emotions aren't gonna affect you. You're gonna heal. Basically, you're going to be healed, and that's really what it's about. So, anyway, Stephen Greer was talking about how to know the difference between, because, well, I guess I'll back up a little bit. Magenta Pixie was saying that there's 3 streams of reliable sources of information. The first stream was channels, conduits, clairvoyants, and psychics. And then the second group was the insider, informant, whistleblower. But those 2 streams need to work together, the scientific community and the spiritual community, which is really profound for me, because I come from the science community, and now I'm working in the spiritual community. I had to take that leap of faith and jump that bridge, and close that gap, so that I can help others understand. And I come from a very logical thinking mind and very critical. But I had to trust that what I was experiencing, what I was feeling, what was happening, what was going on in my body, the physical body, as well as my brain, that it was real. And when I allowed, and I didn't become overwhelmed with fear, I expanded exponentially. Like I grew in just a few months' time, where other people who have been operating on a more fear-based belief system, it's taken them years to do what I'm doing now. And I really wasn't aware of that, how quickly I had grown spiritually until I looked back. But hindsight is 2020, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more later. It's a conversation that Heather and I had earlier. It's, we can see when we've moved ahead as we look back how much we've grown or how much we've progressed. But when we're in the moment, it's so hard to step back, look at it through a different lens, and see a different perspective, and understand that whole bunch of crap that we are experiencing is really there as a classroom for us to learn and grow from, or inside of. Once we get through those lessons, we can walk out of that classroom door and look back and go, "Ooh, I graduated, yay!" Sometimes we have to go back as substitute teachers for the other people that are still in the classroom. Sometimes we get to be the student again, because there's a little nugget of information that we still need to learn. So don't be disappointed. It's not as though you're a failure. It's because you need to pick up another morsel of information, of knowledge, to just, put that icing on the cake. So anyway, the third stream of reliable information that Magenta Pixie mentioned was the technology system. The information is coming from technology, which is outside of the World Wide Web, and it's going to be coming from emergency channels, which she said was strictly reserved for leaders in political arenas. I had posted, because on October 8th, I believe it was the 8th. Anyway, October 8th, there was an emergency broadcast sent out, an alert to everyone's cell phone in the United States from the president. And everyone got it, and we were like, what's going on? What's this? We'd never gotten anything like that before. We have what's called Amber Alert when there's a missing child, or we get alerts when there's a vehicle that's been involved in some kind of high-risk crime. They will send out anyone in that location will get an emergency alert saying, look for this vehicle, or stay indoors, we're investigating this, so that we're aware of it. But we've never been targeted, I guess is the word, to receive information directly from the President of the United States, ever. This was monumental. And so it got everyone's attention. And then when Magenta Pixie, who is actually British, she lives in the UK, said that, I know she wasn't aware of the fact that we had this emergency broadcast go out. And so it was just something that I felt was really significant as part of our growth process, that we're aware of it. And so anyway, these three streams of reliable sources of information, we're going to have to work together, pull from those, and discern for ourselves what is the truth and what is not. And for those who are not mediums or channels or whatever, you need to use your intuitive, your gut, your solar chakra, your solar plexus. It's where you get, the butterflies in your stomach. That's actually the energy that's moving around in there to tell you this is right or it's not, and you need to listen. You need to practice listening and sensing and feeling what it is that you feel when something's not right, what it is that you feel when something is right, the truth. What is it that your body is trying to tell you? For me, I get tingles all over my body when I'm onto something. Like, I know this is it. This is, hey, pay attention. This is really important. That's my team's way of communicating with me and saying, okay, listen up. We have something for you. Or, yes, this person is telling the truth. Yes, this is the information that you need to hear. I also have what I always called like my human lie detector that tells me. I can just look at someone and it's their body language. It's like I pick up on their energy. I didn't realize it, but I have a really big energy bubble around me, and so it mixes with other people. But I can pick that up, like my spidey sense, and I know if they're being dishonest or not. And so I thought that was really interesting, though, that we're going to have to just work together and draw upon our intuitive senses. We all, as humans, have intuition. We all do. It's whether we choose to acknowledge it and exercise it like a muscle, or ignore it or numb it with prescription drugs or alcohol or narcotics. A lot of times when we have those abilities, we're born with them, especially if we have them really strong when we're born with them. We tend to numb them as we get access. As we grow older, we get access to those chemicals, because that's really what they are, to shut off those receptors in our bodies, so that we don't feel that, we don't see those things, we don't want to know those things because we don't understand it. And now it's come to a point in our evolution as human beings that we have to use it. We have to put those abilities to use, and we're all going to have that. Like I said before, we're all going to have telepathy. We're all going to be sensing and feeling from one another, whether we're telling the truth. And we're not going to be able to live in a 3D existence where we've been able to lie and get away with it. We're going to move beyond that, and that's where that 5D and even 7D is going to be. We're going to be moving up in the higher vibration, which is love and peace and joy and happiness. And it's really about our own personal decisions, the decisions that we make. Life is all about choices. And so it's up to us to decide, do we want to have a world like that? And if we do, we're going to co-create that existence. It's going to be around us physically. We're going to manifest it. It's going to become our reality. And so those who can't exist or can't appreciate that loving environment, they're not going to be able to dwell in that. It's going to be too much. It's going to be an overload for them. So they're going to basically short circuit. I mean, that's how it is. It's energy. It's all, and everything is energy. So anyway, I've been doing a lot of talking, but there's those 3 reliable streams of information, sources of information. And in those streams, she said there's going to be individuals who are going to be compromised, is what she called it, for one reason or another. There's numerous reasons why someone can be compromised. Even mediums and channels and psychics, they can have what I've heard called their antennas bent. They're going to be picking up signals from a lower plane of existence, a lower dimension, and they're going to believe that it's true, that it's correct. But in fact, they haven't grounded themselves. They haven't bothered to set their intentions. They haven't set their protections, and they don't do it on a consistent basis. Even if they do, if they say they do, they haven't been consistent about it. And so they're going to pick up inaccurate information, and that's really unfortunate because they're going to believe with all their heart and soul that it's true, and they're going to be passing on that information to others. So it's up to all of us to use our intuitive abilities, our solar plexus, that butterfly system that we have, to decide for ourselves, does this feel right? Does this sound right? Does this resonate with me? And if it does, great. If it doesn't, let it go. Let it go. Don't argue with it. Just let it go. That's as simple as that. And you'll be drawn, and ask your team to help you, guide you to individuals who are giving you the truth. Because as Magenta said, Magenta Pixie, as she said, you're going to be guided to it, but get information from sources that are working together. So those first two sources of information, the intuitive, the clairvoyant, and the conduits, or the channels, I guess, and the psychics. Anyway, they're going to be working with the scientific community, the insiders, the informants, the whistleblowers. Those two streams are going to be working together. And then the political arena is going to back up what those two have been saying. So really you have like a pyramid effect, the Trinity again, which you see that in a lot of things with spirituality, with spirituality or the spiritual community, that Trinity. We're all here to work together. In fact, that's really ironic. They're telling me the three of us make a Trinity, so that's really cool. But anyway, we can't be caught up in the distraction, because that's really what Stephen Greer was saying. There's distractions out there. It's creating chaos, and we need to stay out of it, because it doesn't serve us any purpose other than to distract us, confuse us, cause us grief and anger. But we need to pay attention so that we can discern the truth or not. So
one of my mentors calls it stand behind the short wall. You watch and observe, but you don't involve yourself. And
I love that.
The more you involve yourself in the drama that's going on, with the type of world that we don't want to have, the more we're creating it. So if you just step back from it and don't involve yourself in it and don't feed into it and give it energy, then you feed into the type of world that you do want, not what you don't want.
That's a very good point. I like that, the short wall, because you're just peeking over the wall to check things out. Say, okay, like Eric Meadows says, we're humans are like pet turtles. He comes and he observes us. Yeah. And then he goes and does his thing. He comes back and we haven't moved very far, but he's observing us, and that's really that short wall. He's observing us from the short wall. He doesn't get involved in what we're doing. He can help out. He can, poke a stick at us or feed us some lettuce. Here, this might help you, make you feel good, make you feel better. But he's really just, observing us from that short wall. And I think that's a good way of, putting it, that perspective.
From Saint Germain.
Yeah. Oh, that's really sweet. I love that. So, yeah, anyway, but Stephen Greer also said that there's going to be an attempt to send us, and I can feel it coming, like a fake alien invasion.
Well, that's been planned for a long time. They call it Project Blue Beam. But I think that we're all savvy enough, most of us, that they're not going to be able to pull that one over. But it's still supposedly on the table as a way to manipulate us. So we have to be careful.
We have to be very careful. Yeah. And it's kind of like the Red Scare during the Nazi era. Everybody was turning in everyone else for whatever reason. They thought they were a communist. We're going to have that. We're going to have people,
especially among the cabal people. They're going to be turning on each other, like crazy. They already are.
Yeah.
But and also some of the stuff that's going to be coming out of Antarctica too. they're trying to not tell us the whole story. So we have to, they've already trucked stuff out of there that we may never see, and they're going to try to make their own story. And we have to, but we have whistleblowers that know better, that know the truth. And a lot of the ET races know the truth. So we have to, not jump on the bandwagon of whatever our people, one particular faction tells us, and listen to it all and decide,
Yep. Get it from multiple sources. If you're going to get information, get it from multiple sources. Don't depend or put all your eggs in one basket, because it can get, those eggs can get stepped on, and then you've invested a lot of your time and energy and life source energy into one source, and as it turns out, they're operating with a bent antenna, and that's really sad. So yeah, get your information from multiple sources, and
you have to watch out. I'm sorry, you have to watch out for the people who are actually, like, say, the Corey Goode and David Wilcock and then Stephen Greer. Like, there was one comment that Stephen made. He answered a question from the crowd about Corey Goode, and it was very apparent that he has not listened to Corey Goode's full story. And I've seen that happen so many times. They're not really listening to the full story. They're listening to little snippets and then not agreeing with each other because they think they're saying one thing and they're not, so that you have to be careful about that too, and get the entire story.
Yeah, but also keep in mind that, Corey could be operating on a bent antenna.
Yes.
Just because they're in the public eye doesn't necessarily mean that every word that comes out of their mouth is gospel, is the truth, they may be operating under a belief system that says, this is true, this is what I believe, this is what happened to me, when in fact, what they've experienced is something other than. Mm-hmm. It was a created scenario that they believe is true, so therefore they're speaking as if it was. So you have to be very...
Greer was saying, and that very well could be the case, but we don't know that. We have to go on. There's multiple whistleblower testimony to be able to discern.
Yeah, and that's what Magenta was saying too. Get it from different sources. Does this feel right? Does this sound right? How are all these things fitting together? So just because someone, like I said, is in the public eye doesn't necessarily mean that they're speaking the truth. So
I think I remember Corey actually saying a couple times, that he may not be remembering everything clearly and not to believe everything he says just because he's saying it. He does say, go out and do your own research, and his words aren't the law of God, just because he's saying something.
Filter is what he says.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And it's true. I channel information, and I know that they use my vocabulary to speak in my language that people will understand. And it's harder for them to get me to say something that's a foreign word to me. Like, they can try, and I can feel them trying to get me to say it. But if I haven't said that word before, or it's not in my vocabulary, it's almost impossible. It's like getting me to speak a foreign language. Anyway, but it's because of my filter, which is my vocabulary. But I try really hard to stay out of the way and just allow them to speak. Like verbal diarrhea just comes out. And that's, when I do that, that's when the message is the most clear. It just spews out. But I notice that, like, if I worry about what's going to happen, then I'm getting in the middle of it. I'm trying to control the situation. So I have to just let go. So anyway, but yeah, we have to use our own discernment, and that's going to come to us when we're more in tune with our bodies, our physical bodies, and allow our subconscious to come to the surface.
You were talking about the chills and the tingling. I've started to notice that too, you know, more than, I mean, I've always gotten it, but I just never paid attention to it.
Yep.
Now I've even gotten to where I can ask questions and get answers with the chills, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's get confirmation.
Yeah. Spirit bump.
That's been a new thing for me in the past few weeks, you know?
Yep. It'll become more frequent. The more someone will acknowledge something, oh, I feel that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Can you do that again? Can you make it stronger? The more your team is going to work with you, or the spirit or whatever is going to work with you and make that stronger, because you're like connecting. They're like, oh my gosh, this is what she responds to. Okay, let's do it this way, because she gets it, you know. That's why when I was first starting out to get validation from spirit, I would ask them to show me, you know, something where I could tell if it was a yes or a no or a maybe. And so I was just operating on those three things: yes, no, maybe. And I did it and did it and did it over again and over again until I got to the point where I understood what their signals were. And then once I did that, I graduated to the next level, and I could carry on short sentences. And then suddenly they were physically speaking through me, you know, and making my body move. And that was crazy. But that's really what automatic writing is the spirit, that energy working through your body to create something in writing, written on paper. And so then you graduate, and you know, then pretty soon, like, you take on this whole team that comes through, and like Abraham Hicks or Bashar or whoever, you know, there's different ones. Yeah, you get to that point, and you know, just keep evolving. So but yeah, it's just
signs, you know, like Heather's yellow cars. And
yeah, I was just going to mention that you can pretty much pick anything that you want, whether it be pennies or feathers, or like with me, it's yellow cars.
With me, it's what I asked for, white horse. I asked for that this week, just about 3 days ago, and I have seen 10 white horses.
Wow.
In 2 days. And I never see white horse, you know.
In 2 days? You said 2 days? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd asked a question, and I said, you know, if this is true, show me white horses. And I've gotten so many white horses in the last 2 days. It's just, you know.
Yeah.
And there's no real white horses around here. My 2 horses are black. So
that's cool. Yeah, it's about them helping you shift your perspective so that you suddenly notice those things. Yeah, there was actually a big yellow airplane in the sky. You know, it was kind of a joke with Heather. So one of the spirits that we work with, it was as if he pulled this airplane off track just to go over my head long enough to get my attention to look up, take a picture of it, and then it was gone. But it was really funny. It was like a flying banana in the sky, but it was a yellow, full on big yellow airplane. I've never seen one before, so it was really funny. But yeah, it definitely got my attention. So yeah, they'll do that. They'll shift your awareness. They'll tell you, hey, look at this. You know, you don't realize it, but you think it's you. Just, you know, like looking up all of a sudden, you know, what a coincidence. Mm-hmm. You are looking, or you're looking down, you see a feather or something, but they know what you're going to do ahead of time. So then humans are kind of predictable. We're pet turtles. You know, we don't move very fast. We don't move very far. So they can go, oh, this person's going to be here at this place in this intersection, or at this store, or in their car doing this, driving this direction, because we take the same route to and from work every day. And they're going to know. So, oh, I'm going to send this airplane overhead, or I'm going to have this yellow car drive by, or I'm going to have them they're going to take a left there. So I want this white horse to come to the corner of that pasture, so that they're going to notice that, you know, they get our attention. And it's
not
really
just real things,
cool.
pictures and, you know, numbers on the clocks we've all been, you know, seeing, and synchronistic numbers. Synchronicities is what it is. I've even had meteors fall, like, right, you know, in answers to questions, which just seems really difficult to predict, you know, that would, for anyone to predict that would happen, but it does.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's really cool. It's just magic. That's how I say it. It's just magic. It is. It's awesome. But you have to be open to it. You have to say, okay, I'm not going to have any expectations other than I'm going to ask for this sign, white horse, yellow car, whatever, a feather, penny, angels, you know, like, it doesn't matter. It can be anything. Red shoes. I don't know. But suddenly your awareness is going to get stronger, and you're going to start seeing those things, and you'll know. Yeah. But practice with it, because that's what we're all going to be doing. We're all going to be doing this. You don't need a middleman. I think I've said that before. Yeah, I mean, we're here to help out as a medium or a channel, but it's really up to all of us to evolve and get into that higher frequency, that higher vibration, so that we can all ascend. Because this, you know, the tide raises all boats, right? When it rises, all boats rise with the tide. And so those mediums and those channels are the tide. They're helping to get those boats afloat, you know, so that we can all get out and experience what it is that we're here to experience. And that's love, really. Ultimately, we're here to experience love, here and in the afterlife. Yeah, it's all about love. So yeah, love yourself though first. My gosh, love yourself first, and then you can have more love with others, you know. So
yeah, it took me a long time to understand what that meant, to love yourself, and that you can't really love another person unless you love yourself. It took a lot of years to understand what that meant.
Well, a lot of people confuse it with being selfish.
Yes.
And it's not. It's when you don't love yourself, you're being selfish, because you can't help anybody else around you.
Yeah.
Truly, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a work in progress, you know, always. We all have.
Oh, yeah.
We are. That's what it's about, though. Progress. You know, work at it so that we can progress. Yeah. So yeah, there were a couple questions you asked me, Heather, earlier.
Yes. One of them was about patterns in your life.
So how to recognize patterns.
Right. So when you're going through it, you know, sometimes it's kind of hard to recognize that. You know, you can maybe, you know, 20 years later, you can look back and then you can recognize it. But how can you recognize it when it's actually happening to you, so you can kind of break that pattern?
Yeah, you're in the thick of it. It is so hard. And like I said earlier, we were going to talk about this, that hindsight is 20/20. So we all wish that we had the clarity of hindsight. When we're in the thick of it, we're so caught up in those emotions, fear, anger, anxiety, stress, negativity, whatever. Those are distractions. Those are chaos. So how do you recognize patterns when you're distracted or you're in the chaos? You have to raise your vibration, work from a higher, happier, loving place. Through your heart is how you do that. Your heart sees all. There is nothing that can be hidden from a heart. Nothing. Your physical eyes can not see things, but your heart sees all through its senses. And it feels, it knows, it understands, if you allow it, if you don't get blocked. And when you can do that, you'll be able to move yourself into a different perspective. You'll be able to stand back, look over that half wall, you know, that short wall, and see, oh, okay, I'm distracted. I'm caught up in the chaos. And then you'll realize that. So you get that awareness. And once you do that, then you can take a deep breath. You can look at it and go, okay, now I'm out of that situation. I'm an observer. Once you become an observer, so you've taken yourself out of there, then you can see, oh, this has happened before. They've done this to someone else. Now they're doing it to me. Oh, I responded this way before, or I reacted this way before, so I'm going to respond differently. I'm going to try this. And I think that'll work because they reacted this way. So that's how you see it. But then you'll start to see those patterns. And when you do see those patterns, that's when you know you've stepped back out of that distraction or that chaos or that confusion. You've been able to get out of it. You've let that water flow off your back like a duck. And then once you see those patterns, that awareness changes everything. You can't unknow what you know. And when you do that, that's where you become empowered. You're not giving your power to someone else, because then you are the one who's looking at it from a different perspective. When you're in the thick of it, that's when you're giving your power to someone else, because you're sharing that same energy, that same emotion, that same negativity, that same distraction, that same chaos, that same confusion. But then you move yourself out of it, they're still spinning, right? And then you can see, oh, they're still caught up in it. I need to take a deep breath. I need to center myself. I need to ground myself. I need to take 5 or even 10 and just look at it from a different perspective. Instead of reacting the same old way that you've always done, come out of it and respond. Respond with your heart, not with your mind, because your mind will pull you back into that chaos. That, oh my gosh, they've done that to me before. They've done it to this person. I can see this. Nah, 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 nah. Your mind will take you back into that chaos, but your heart will take you out of it. That's really the secret to it.
I think that's really important too. It's all about just slowing down, you know, because when you say chaos, you know, it's fast. Yeah. The world is a fast-paced place. Like, that's what they want us to be like, so they can control us easier, right?
Distraction.
So just calm down, slow it down. You don't have to take everything so fast, and think about it. Yeah. Think about it with your brain. Think about it with your heart. Get them on the same page, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that's really funny that you say that, because I just realized when you get out of that chaos and you slow down, time speeds up.
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed that?
Yes.
Because you're operating at that higher frequency.
Right, right.
When you're doing that, everything starts moving faster.
Around you.
Around you.
Yeah. But you feel very calm and centered.
Very calm and centered. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then before you know it, everything is fine because it's past.
Yep.
It's like, yeah.
It worked itself out because you didn't have any expectations on it. You didn't try to control it. You didn't try to manipulate anything. You're just an observer to recognize those patterns and change. That's where change happens. It comes from awareness, and awareness comes from standing back, you know, taking a breather, slowing down, doing your meditation, go for a walk, do those things to help ground you. And when you're doing that, it's hard for someone to push you over, you know, you're standing straight up, and your antenna's not bent either, you know, so you're able to think more clearly, and then your team's able to get information to you so that you can hear too, so you can feel, so you can understand, and then you'll just know. So yeah, but it's interesting how, you know, when we slow down, everything else speeds up, like poof, like time just flies by. So yeah. Anyway, did I answer that question for you?
You did beautifully. Thank you.
You're welcome. Were you going to say something, Wendy?
Well, we were talking about feel with the heart, and Adamus talks about that as well. But I was listening to a George Kavasilas video the other day, and he said something about telepathy. All humans have telepathy. We're just taught that we don't, so we don't believe it. But that's actually a very shallow way of communicating. That most ETs, they all have telepathy, but that's not how they communicate. They communicate through feelings and emotions and through the heart. So I thought that was really interesting that you said that.
Yeah, I mean, look at the animals around us.
Form of connection and communication than just telepathy even. Yeah. Telepathy is just a step up from speech and body language,
Yeah. Look at animals. They make noises, but they can communicate without making a sound, either through smelling, their senses, or their body language. They've got their ears, or they're stomping the ground, or they're like baring their teeth. They communicate in ways that we take for granted. So we're always communicating our body language. We're always communicating with one another. But yeah, we're going to become more sensitive to those things. It's part of that human lie detector thing, I think. Yeah. So it's cool. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Anyway, what is your other question, Heather?
So the other question was about, so if you have a goal that you want to achieve and you want to set up a plan to achieve that goal, and you're very eager to achieve it, but you also want to let go and kind of not have any expectations of what's going to happen, how do you manage that?
I have another thing to add to that before you answer, Leilani. Okay, so Eric was saying that not to have expectations, but when you think about that, but you're supposed to set your intention for something. So isn't that the same thing as having an expectation? You're setting an intention. It's something that you want to happen or that you want. So kind of, can you explain the difference or what?
Yeah. So goals are important. I believe that's my belief system. Goals are important because if we didn't have them as humans, we become bored. I have my own, like, I set personal goals all the time. I have a competition with myself, like, okay, I'm going to finish this in 10 minutes, or it took me 30 minutes to do it last time. Let's see if I can get it done in 10, kind of thing. I'm always doing that with myself. But yeah, I've been a goal setter. So it's helped me. I've had people say, don't set goals because then you're just setting yourself up for failure. I'm like, well, if you don't set goals, you're never going to succeed, period. And what is success?
It's about how do you live in the moment without plan,
You what?
It's kind of like, they always say the guru, live in the moment, but at what point do you have to plan? It's kind of confusing, but it's kind of along these lines. That's why I threw that in there.
It is. It can be confusing because the now is all that really exists, right? The past is over. It's history. The future hasn't happened, and your now is what's the most important because it creates your reality. It also creates your future reality, and it's where things get manifested. But what happens is, so you set a goal, and what happens? You don't reach that goal. Well, you have to evaluate it. When you evaluate something, you're becoming aware of it. So were you setting expectations that were unachievable, too high? Okay, so that's where those expectations come in. I want blah, blah, blah. Instead of realizing I need this, I need that. A lot of times people set goals for things they want, not for things they need. So I think that's really important to make that distinction. We have been programmed to get what we want. when really we should be programmed to get what we need. Be happy with what we need or what we have. Be more grateful and have that gratitude. So when we put expectations on things, then we're saying, I want it this way. I want it that way. I want so many of this, like quantity instead of quality. I want someone with blonde hair, blue eyes, or I want someone who is 5'2", in my life to show up, instead of just being grateful that someone came into your life. That happens a lot with soulmates, that we're expecting. Being grateful for what you have, or being grateful for what you will receive because it's what you need, but being open to it. When you put in expectations, you're actually limiting yourself. You're creating a very small little pond, little pool from which to get resources from. And then you get disappointed because that little small pond doesn't contain what you want, when in fact just outside that pond is what you need. But you're not willing to even consider that because you've set these expectations along with those goals that you want, and not understanding that the universe will provide what you need.
That's what I was going to say. The universe knows so much more than you can know, so if you're putting limitations on it, specifics on it, then, you don't know what you could have had, because the universe could have given you. Adonis talks about this as well. I wish I could remember all of it, but it's along those lines. Yeah. Don't limit yourself like that. Don't put specifics like, I want a house with this, 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 and this. Just say a satisfying place to live, or and the universe will give you more than you ever thought you could possibly have.
Yep.
More than you could have dreamed yourself.
It's true, because what you could receive from the universe is outside of your reality.
Right.
You haven't experienced it yet. So if you leave it open and you say, okay, I'd like to set this goal that's going to take me in this direction, so I'm going to plan because I really want this to happen. It's okay to do those things as long as you don't set expectations. You lift up those oars and you allow the boat to flow with the universe, and your boat will go in the direction that you need to go in order to bring that into your existence, into your reality, which a lot of times, if you just let go and stop that need to control, the universe will deliver you more. It'll bring in those synchronicities, those white horses, those yellow cars, the yellow airplane, those feathers and pennies that you can't even imagine. You're going to be bombarded with them because the universe is wanting always to deliver what you need, always to take care of you, because you are God. You are the pure energy, source energy, manifested in a physical form. We are created in the image of God, is what they say, and it's true. God is always trying to experience through you. That's how God learns. I was blown away when I found that out, that's it's all constantly getting feedback from us directly to source, and source is saying, okay, let's have this experience then. I'm going to send you this, and it's going to blow your mind because last week you were here, but now you're in the now, and you're going to have this experience, and I want to see how that feels. I want to know how to react, how to respond, and I'm going to grow from that experience, just like you are. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me as source to operate through you and enjoy this creation. It's like a parent watching a child for the first time, taking their first step, or eating that first bite of real food, you know, or getting their driver's license and driving that first car, you know. It's like, yay, you know, I'm experiencing this through them. Through them, I know what it feels like to take that first baby step, to eat that first real food, you know, to taste that. What does it feel like? And that's how Source is, you know, it's enjoying this experience right along with us, because it's getting constant feedback. We, as a physical being, we think that we're just it. There's nothing more to us, when in fact, energetically, we're feeding that back to Source continuously. So, and Source is feeding us as well. So it's a two-way circuit, you know, it's open. We just have to remember not to turn it off, you know, it's still there. It's like the stars, you know, during the daytime, we can't see them because it's so bright, but the stars don't go away. They're always there, always there. The clouds don't go away just because it's dark. They're always there. We just can't see them, but they're always there. Source, God, universe is always there. We just can't see it because we're in a physical form. We can feel it though. We can know it. We can know that it's there, and it communicates with us. So we just have to be willing to believe and change that perspective and know that it's always going to be there, that the stars are always there, the clouds are always there. It's just our perspective has changed because the light or the lack of light is there. So we're not able to see it. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so we need to set goals. I think that's important. Goals shouldn't consume us though. We shouldn't be so fixated on goals that we lose sight of receiving. We have to be open to whatever comes our way, all the magic and the possibilities that can come through just allowing to have an experience, to enjoy that. And yeah, eliminate expectations completely, which is really hard for me. I'm getting better. This last year, if I just eliminate expectations, I get what I need. It's amazing. It's amazing. I can't even put into words the magic that I've experienced because I eliminated expectations when I needed to. It's when I have expectations that things start to fall apart, because I'm operating at a higher frequency, which is where those things don't stay. They don't stick to me, but I'm trying to cling to them with all my might sometimes. But if I just let go and be open to possibilities, then wow, things start happening.
I've watched this happen for you. You know, we you know, Heather and I have watched you go through this past year, and Heather as well, and myself, and it's just amazing the miracles that happen.
Yeah.
Just happen.
It just happens. Yeah. But you know, you get information, and you think, oh, it's got to be this way. This way. I want it this way, and then boom, like you if you just let it go, say, all right, let it happen when it happens, then wow, you know, it's just, yeah, it's true.
It's hard for me too. I'm learning, you know, I'm a planner and a prepper, and you know, I'm trying to learn, you know.
That's me, list maker, you know, still do it. Yeah. Yeah. It's part of who we are as individuals, but that's what's important, is just letting that go, letting it go, and not having expectations on it. Don't say, I want this and I want it wrapped in a purple box or blue box with a gold bow or red bow. It has to be delivered this way and this size, this shape. You know, let those things go. Just be willing to appreciate the fact that a package is coming to you. It could be in a plain paper bag, but it can be the most beautiful thing that's inside of it. You just don't know. So anyway, was there anything else?
I think a lot of people Well, yeah, 'cause I think a lot of people get confused with that, with the law of attraction, because they are so specific of what they want instead of really saying, how do I want to feel about it?
Right.
You know, my end goal is I want to be happy. I want to be filled with joy, filled with love.
Yeah.
I want a big house. I want a big car. I want to win the lottery.
Right.
But abundance doesn't just mean having lots of money or having a big house or having lots of cars.
Yeah. Quantity versus
Right.
quality.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're
It's all about feeling. Like you said, you can feel the universe, you can feel source, you can feel energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you'll be
Emotions.
surprised once you do let go, and at times in my life when I have actually let go, that abundance comes from that in ways that you couldn't have predicted, and financially, and in just your satisfaction level, but when you start trying to tighten everything up and worry and plan, and just specifically plan like what you're saying, then that's when you start feeling like you're in lack.
Yeah. Lack of, or out of control.
And it doesn't matter how much money you have, you would still feel that way.
Yep. The more you make, the more you spend, right? But yeah, it's about gratitude, being grateful for, and I think I covered that before, just being grateful for the little things, the air you breathe, the bed you have to sleep on, the pillow you have to rest your head on, the food that you have to eat, the car that you have to get to and from work. Be thankful that you have a job. Some people don't. So just being grateful for every little thing, even if it's just having people in your life that love you. Some people don't have that, so reach out and give love to other people, and be willing to volunteer and give your time, because that time is precious. It means more than just writing out a check to someone. Give your time. That's what I learned. And when I started volunteering, that's when my life started to change, because I was no longer focused on myself and my drama and my chaos and my distractions in life. I was able to give to someone else, and when in fact I was receiving more than I was giving, because I realized that I wasn't stressed by my own life and the chaos that was going on. I was given a break to stand back and look over that half wall, that short wall, and see things from a different perspective, that it wasn't so bad after all, because it could be a lot worse. The people that I was serving were in a lot worse situations than what I was in. So anyway, yeah. So I think that's everything. Good, yeah.
Yeah.
So
the end of the questions.
Okay. I appreciate it. So hopefully all of you listening to this will get information out of this that's important to you. I feel that those who are going to be watching it, you're watching it for a reason. You were drawn to it. And we're going to be doing some more like this. So thank you for listening. Like and subscribe if you're watching this from YouTube. If you're watching this from the Intergalactic Connections Facebook page, then share it with or invite people to the group so that they can look and watch it until we decide how we're gonna, or when we're gonna open it up to be more public. So, but anyway, thank you
Also,
again.
if there's anything that anyone wants us to discuss or wants to be a part of a discussion, if there's anything of interest out there, you've seen some of the videos that we posted, a whole plethora of different things, one end of the spectrum to the other. If anybody wants to talk about anything in particular or has questions, let us know. That way we can make everybody happy.
Yeah. We'd love that. So, because
it will be interesting to everyone,
Right. This is for you guys. We've already hashed this out over the last year. We've been talking about this, and so we've had an opportunity to work through these things. And by doing that, we're now, mentors for all of you to help out. But we always can learn new things, and that's what we're here for. That's why we're connecting with one another, so that we can share, we can understand, we can increase our awareness and change our perspective if that's what we need to do. So thank you again. All right. Till next time. Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.